Make way for the king!
Slowly. Fast! Now, peasants! Rah! Lower me, peasants!
Get off the steps, my lord.
Thank you, peasant. I may allow you to eat tonight.
Thank you, lord.
You will dine on the ground. Faster, peasant! That's right, peasant. I am the woodwork-king. Scrap wood, you say? Nay, say I. What I lack in audio quality and craftsmanship I make up for in absolute humor and downright sexiness. Welcome to my shop. I will show you how to build all of these things. Simply kiss the ring.
So I actually went back and binge watched some of my older content, and I noticed that I just had more fun in the early days of YouTube. And the time that I spent off, I spent a lot of time researching, how to grow a channel, how to beat the algorithm, how to do this and that in order to grow the channel. And I'm really glad it's growing, but I'm just really have not had as much fun as I used to have. So that's why you're seeing this video. We're just clowning around in the shop. I have a ton of scrap wood I need to get rid of anyway. And when I do something crazy like this, it's fun to do, one, but also it helps you to learn more in the craft of woodworking, I guess. I don't really know. You get to practice different joints that, you don't want to really mess up on. You don't want to practice on a client's job. You don't want to practice something you haven't done. So that's what these kind of goofy projects do for me. I get to practice different little techniques, different styles. Get to learn how to make certain cuts, certain designs. And if I mess up, it's just scrap wood that I'm clowning around on anyway. And also, you gotta admit, them kids have some acting skills. So if you remember, I had a lot of cutoffs, or I did these cutoffs for the lumber racks that we did previously, and they've just been sitting there taking up space. So I found something kind of goofy to do with it, just to get them out the way and practice doing some angle cuts, and to practice doing this glue up here, which is really the most complicated glue up I've done, trying to make a round shape. And trying to keep everything together. You can kind of see the struggle there, but it came out pretty well. And by it came out pretty well enough to be glued together and not fall apart when I take the tape off later. And like I said, it's just really good practice. And here I'm trimming up the holes for the rings. Just really seeing what the grain of the wood does when you knock it with the chisel. This is cypress that I'm using here. And sanding it down with the sander, getting more practice on that. So I really wasn't wasting time. I was learning stuff as I was doing this and having a blast with it. I think I spent 4 or 5 hours in the shop non-stop. And I learned nothing from this activity. I'm just drilling holes into little blocks of wood. Right here I'm setting up to do a large bow tie, which you'll see in the center of that awesome freaking necklace, or that freaking awesome necklace. Just having fun with the handsaw, learning how it cuts, stuff like that. And I am by no means a hand tool expert. I can do enough. I've actually built some furniture in the past using hand tools only. I did a bookshelf with through tenons, or through mortise and tenon joinery with tusk tenons on the end. It came out pretty good. But man, it just takes so long. And when you're doing this for a business, doing hand tools only, you're going to spend so much time on a piece that you might not make money. Doing hand tools is really just for the relaxation, I guess, or the therapy of it. But it's just not right for me from a business standpoint. But I do like to break out the hand tools every now and then. And so here is the mallet glue up. I'm not sure what I say in the video, but this is how I like to glue up my mallets. I'll leave a little gap in the middle. It just makes it easier to do that mortise and tenon joint that you're going to do for the handle. And I do say that I'm going to use dowels to attach the handle later on, but I actually did a large side wedge that I haven't seen anybody do before. So this is the first time I've seen it done. And so far it's worked out pretty good. It's a pretty solid joint. And you'll see what I'm talking about later on when I hammer in a long wedge on the side of the handle. Alright, I'm going to dial back the stupidity just for a minute and just by like a hair. If you never built a mallet before, that's actually a pretty fun project and it's very useful around the shop to have a good mallet. This one obviously will be overkill, but after I glued it up, I said, you know, it might be a good little instructional. So here we go. You'll see that the way that I glued this up, the handle is going to slip into this hole. This is going to be my handle. I made a mark how deep I want the handle to go. And this is going to stick above my head by about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. And you don't have to do that, that's just how I'm doing it. So the hole is smaller than the handle, obviously. We're going to trim the handle down on these sides, however we need to do it. And then this is the side that I'm going to clean up and make it comfortable to grip. So we're going to measure our hole. We're looking at 1 inch and 15/16 by 1 inch and 7/16. I don't know if my camera's working or not. So like I said, that's the dimensions we're going to cut down on this top side going this way. So if you've never tried to cut anything with a handsaw, one thing to help is have a line going on every edge. And what you're going to do when you line up your saw blade, you're going to make sure you line up your saw blade with the line on top and the line going here, if at all possible. That's a good way to make sure your saw, sorry about that. That's a good way to make sure your saw is square and you're going to cut a straight line. So line it up with the line on top and the line on bottom. Also, because I mismarked my first line, to make it easier to see, put a mark inside your line that you marked with your marking tool. So now you should clearly see where we're cutting it. And like I said, take your blade, you're going to line up the blade with the top line and the side line. And that's where you're going to start making your cut. For these Japanese saws, which is a great tool to have, the small teeth is for cross cutting. The larger teeth is for rip cutting. So we want to use the larger teeth to make this cut. So typically what you would do next is you would drill a hole here and a hole here, Then you would cut a line from the top all the way down to each hole. And what that is a relief hole, so that when you stick this through, all the way through the head, you take some wedges and you wedge them down into the cuts that you make. And what that does is split this outside wood to where it fills the gap inside of your head. However, with the wood being this thick, I don't think I'm going to do that because I don't know if I'm going to split it. Because that's going to be a long wedge. There's no way that I would be able to get the wedge all the way down in there without breaking the wedge. So I'm just going to throw some dowels through this one. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to throw some dowels through the side of the head and wrap this up. I don't want to spend too much time on this project. It's just a joke anyway. So right here I'm cutting down the excess for the handle to make it more grippable, if that's a term. If you ever tried cope cutting, that's what that is there. I was just trying to speed up the process because it seemed like it was taking forever to do it. And to sand down the handle, my phone actually ran out of memory coming up. The way that I made the handle was by using the sander and just rotating the handle part on the sander itself to get them curves and grooves that you see later on. And I just eyeballed the cuts for this. I didn't measure anything for the hammerhead. Just eyeballed the cuts till it looked nice, cleaned it up, and I'll tell you what, that's a solid block of wood right there. And here's where you'll see the side wedge that I was talking about. Typically you do a wedge that goes inside of the handle wood itself, but I just trimmed down the side a little farther or a little smaller than what the hole itself was so that I could hammer in this wedge on the side of the handle. And I honestly did not want to put Danish oil on it. This is Sapele. But it's just what I had on hand. I wasn't putting any money on this. And the Danish oil, I've had it in my shop for a while. I'm surprised it was even still in a liquid form. So I'm just using Danish oil just to give it a good little finish.
I hope you enjoyed this video in my shop. It was quite the thing, wasn't it? To be able to make all of these awesome things. And welcome to... Oh my God! My beauty shall never be reflected in a cheap mirror. It's destined for more greatness than that.
Our Lord is so gracious. At least he let us sit on his floors. But I am a little hungry. My back hurts. At least we have little Nugget to keep us company. Right. Nuggets.